Now, some people wear high-vis vests, but Tiffo, my next guest, wears his heart on his sleeve, it's fair to say, and a French bulldog on his lap. I'm going to have to ask you about that, mate. I'm Shane Jacobson, and this is How You're Travelling, a podcast from Healthy Heads. Today, I'm talking with Tiffo, whose name is actually Robin, but known to Tiffo by all his mates and hopefully by me after this interview. He's a trainer, a storyteller, an all-round great bloke, helping warehouse teams look after their mental health, one honest convo at a time. Tiffo, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Shane. Nice to be here. Good to meet you.
Well, mate, it's great to have you here in the studio with us. I have to start by asking, of course, how you travelling?
I'm travelling really well, thank you. Life is great. My teenage daughter's home living with me with the French bulldog, and my youngest daughter is flying. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm a blessed bloke.
Oh, good. Well, obviously, I have to ask just all of our guests how they're travelling. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing my job, and the show would be pointless if I'm not asking.
Great question.
Two things off the bat. Sure. Robin is your actual Christian name.
It is, yes.
And it's not a name you often hear. I had an uncle Robin who's no longer with us who was just a saint. Yeah. So as soon as I read your name, I felt already connected to you. And you're a dog man. I got three dogs. So you got a bulldog.
I do, because my eldest daughter is moved back home for a brief period of time, as your children do. They fly solo and travel away, and she comes back, and the door opens the second time behind her, and I think she's bringing a bloke, and she's not. She's bringing a little French bulldog with her.
So your daughter's come back, and now you've got a French bulldog living in the house with you?
Grandpa to Poppy. A little French bulldog.
That's the name of the dog?
That's its name.
Poppy.
Poppy.
Well, mate, so you're a trainer. You're a trainer.
Yeah.
What's your official title?
Workplace trainer at Amazon.
Right.
Yeah.
So you work in big warehouse spaces. Can we just for our listeners, how big are we talking?
Okay, so we are the first site to open in Australia. So we're only 8. We're only a relatively young company here, globally massive. We're about 1.5 times the size of the MCG.
See, it's such scale. Every time I talk to people that work in big warehouses or distribution centres or DCs, it's such a massive scale. How many humans inhabit that space? How many people work there?
On any shift, up to 300.
Per shift?
Yeah. And we run day shift, night shift. So Is
it? So do you guys do the 3-shift thing?
No, just 2.
2 shifts?
Yeah, so day shift's somewhere between 7 and 6:30 time slot. And then night shift runs from about 7 p.m. through to about 3 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do they swap shifts? They go from day shift to night shift, or do they choose to stay on it? There you go.
We've got a lot of people who choose night shift because they earn more money. It suits their lifestyle. We have a lot of our workforce come from overseas, so they're studying. They're looking to earn points for their residency and those sort of things. So they got things to do during the day. So putting things on a shelf at night kind of suits them and pays their bills. And
you're saying 300 per shift, but how many are on the books? Like how many staff are there that work in that building?
For our site, I don't know an exact number, but it would be thousands on.
Gosh.
Yeah, because we've got all our support staff. So our engineering staff that we have on site to make sure our conveyors and all of our equipment runs and doesn't stop. I mean, if you want to see 300 people go nuts, just turn the conveyor off.
Oh, right,
and then there's just massive panic. Like the building is now silent. This building is never silent. What's gone wrong?
So that's the scariest sound you can hear is actually the sound of nothing.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because the fear now is that Mrs. Smith won't receive her parcel.
And it's that's the mission, to get every parcel
it is.
to the customer as soon as they
deliver
can.
smiles is the Americanism that we use.
And with all that comes pressure, and with that kind of pressure can come stress, and with that can come bad mental health. And your story, mate, can we start with your story? Because your journey started the kind of the impetus, if you will, or the passion behind what you do, and you do it very well, mate.
Thank you.
Has actually been from a start of loss and suffering. Would that be fair to say?
Life is a journey, and you end up in destinations through a whole range of circumstances that happen. Sure, one of the major standouts for me was I thought I was flying in a 13-year career in local government, feeling good about myself, thinking I was making change for my community. A little naive, really, I think. But anywho, so the great powers that make all of our kind of decisions in life I think it's just the mental health experts define men's mental health as 3 key areas that they say where a man is potentially most vulnerable. And one is the breakdown of a long-term relationship or a marriage, the loss of a child, a financial bankruptcy, and the loss of a long-term job. And those 3 things place a man in a very vulnerable situation. And I guess one of the reasons we're here today is because we're not particularly good blokes at reaching out to each other and helping each other and admitting there's a need for change, or I need a hand. And
what was it that got you? What was it that hit you?
So within 6 months, I was retrenched from this job. We had a new CEO come in, and he was on a bonus to reduce money. So I lost my job and had a battle at Fair Work to get what was a fair and equitable settlement out of the loss of the job. My relationship was breaking down. Unbeknown to me, we'd reached a point where we weren't being particularly nice people to each other, and we had these teenage girls who I think had a need from us to have responsible and loving parents. And meanwhile, we're struggling with our relationship, and so that changed my financial circumstances right there, because you've got to find a way to separate and negotiate through all these things: access to children, access to money, the ability to continue, whilst I'm trying to reframe who I am as a bloke and what is it that I do to earn money to live. I'd always seen myself as someone who was open to experience, and found a spot where I thought I was doing good, feeling good about my job. And now I was going to have to reframe that. Did I want to stay in that space or move?
It's surprising to me. I've been through similar things, been through a breakup and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It hits you by surprise. You get kind of T-boned when all of a sudden when you're growing up, this is my case, and tell me if you found it similar. You kind of grow up and you're watching influences like television about what it is to be a man, or in our era, a solo man, or you might watch Peter Brock, or they drive cars. It's weird where we get our ideas about what it takes to be a man, or what a man looks like and what they should sound like and what tough is and what strong is, and this insane pursuit of tough, which is such a waste of an endeavour to pursue this toughness. It's, love, compassion, honesty, all these things and qualities we should be searching for. Integrity.
Yeah, there's no joy in tough.
No.
The joy comes from living, love, expressing, feeling emotions through children and pets and those things. But you don't know that though, do you?
Not back then, we didn't. I didn't. And lucky I had great, my dad was great at teaching me what mattered, but a bit lost in that. I mean, I'm still out there in a world getting all these cues from movies and posters and whatever it is. And then you go through a breakup or a change of circumstance like that. And it was fascinating to me about what your sense of self is. And hearing what you're describing already, that what T-bones you, I imagine, and maybe some people listening, that money, the job that you do and the relationship you think you're in, and you're trying to build a loving home. We all in our mind we're going to build a loving home, and then stuff starts to go awry. Yeah, it was fascinating to me that it starts to attack your sense of self and self-worth.
Absolutely.
Is that what happened to you?
In a way, yes. What I did for a living was a big part of who I was, but I had a separation of my parents when I was a teenager. And so one of the huge drivers for how I live as an adult is how I parent, and how my children see me, and am I there for their netball games, their gymnastic games, and those things. They're the things that have given me the most joy to get to this point. So when daughter number 1 says she's coming home and by the way, Dad, Poppy's coming too, the French bulldog, then I can't say no, because my whole life's been about trying to put them first. And my job was, yes, a very big part of my life. So that was like one part gone. But it took this sentence from my daughter number 1 to kind of think that I'd be okay. And we're talking about losing the job and everything else. She's what, year 11? So she's about 17, I think, 16, 17, 18, in that age bracket. Sassy as all get out. And she says to me,
I wonder where she gets that from.
And she says to me, she goes, yeah, but Dad, did you tell the truth about the situation in the instance? Yeah, I did, sweetheart, I did. Do you believe it passionately? Yeah, I do. Then I think you'll be okay, Dad. And just wanders off to make herself
out of the mouths of babes
a ham and cheese toastie. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, all right.
I'm going to be all right.
I'm still a good bloke.
Which I reckon you are. She knows it. Just you're the last to know. Yeah.
But I think that's a man thing as well sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're so caught up in what you think are today's priorities, which is earn the income, come home, do the things a man's supposed to do in the house. Yeah, I don't know. You get lost in that.
You do. One of the things I like to believe in is when it doesn't have to be a man or a woman. If they spend a lot of time worrying if they're a good person, they're probably a good person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Sure.
if something that you keep wanting to ask, like, am I being good here?
Yeah.
If you keep checking whether you are or aren't a good person in your own mind, I think there's a big chance you're probably not a bad person.
It's like that little conscience trigger inside you, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
You don't. It's like that little voice. You probably find this in your performing role, Shane, that if you don't get nervous, you kind of get a little antsy about, oh, have I read enough? Have I done enough? Am I prepared enough? And you don't need to be so nervous that you can't perform, but it's almost like that safety net of, oh yeah, I'm a little butterfly. I am a little, okay.
That's a good thing.
I care about what I'm about to do.
Because that's the thing. So
that's that conscience moment, isn't it? When you say, am I a good bloke? Am I being a good parent? Am I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the butterflies of, I hope I'm doing this well. I hope I'm doing it right. I hope I'm doing it good enough. Same set of sports people before they run on a field. That if they can feel a bit of nerves, it means they care about the game and they're probably going to focus hard.
That's those dressing room shots that you see and you're watching blokes how they start, and it changes for each person as they pan around the change room.
Some look calm, some look angry, but they're both nervous. And you go, oh, well, that's their way.
Yeah.
So something that's been a bit of a common theme or thread with the conversations we've had with so many people in the workplace around mental health.
Sure.
We've talked a lot about the impact the workplace can have on people, about safety, about not being injured in a workplace. And if they are injured, they may lose their income and then they may have lost part of their body or a limb or some of themselves. But something that's come up a little bit is, of course, we're talking about truck drivers who are sitting in a cab on their own, right? Men and women.
Yep.
Warehouse workers, as you said, Amazon, a noisy environment, machinery going off everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've got a busy day and a lot to do, and there's performance expectations.
Yep.
So conversations aren't. There's not a lot of room for connection, and especially in a really noisy place in a warehouse.
Yeah.
So they're the work things.
Yep.
But you and I both know that a human enters that workspace, and whatever's happening at home is in their head.
Yes.
And then they turn up in the cabin of a truck on their own, or they turn up in a noisy workplace where they're not having conversations.
Yep.
But the problems at home are in their head.
Yeah, they are.
And they're stuck in their head
in their
for
own
a whole
company
day.
For that whole 8 hours.
And they're not necessarily the best person to be talking to because they're talking to themselves. And they themselves are having thoughts sort of spinning round in ever-decreasing circles.
Yep.
So one thing I love knowing about you is that when you're talking to staff, you've got people that are going through a breakup, and as you've already identified, they're a terrible thing for anyone to go through.
Yeah, they are.
Even a good one is bad.
They are.
And a bad one's terrible.
It's something you never plan for.
No.
There's a whole lot of things in life we plan for: getting injured, going to school, falling off a bike. You never plan for the love of your life to not be the love of your life anymore in the way that you always thought it was going to be. You never plan for that.
And you talk to staff and workers that are going through that.
Yeah. Well, I try to have conversations with them at work, so honest conversations. So obviously I have to have workplace-based conversations about quality metrics that we use to measure whether they're doing the correct workplace practices. But then I think we're a group of people that are in there to perform a task together for 10 hours. And how I'm driven is, if you're working for me, I'm going to ask you how you are, and I'm going to wait for you to answer, because we're terrible at doing that as well. Aussie blokes will say, "G'day, mate, how you going?" And I'll keep walking.
Yeah, not waiting for the answer.
And you just nod, and you bat it away, thinking, "Oh yeah, that's just a greeting. There he is on his way to work or wherever." So I've trained myself to stop and wait to see what they say. And if there's a need for a follow-up question, I'll ask them a follow-up question. Oh, what's going on? You're not feeling all that good today? And then I'll see if there's a moment in the day where I can say, hey, what about I come back later and just check in on you, see how you're going, have a bit of a conversation. And that's what's really become important to me is in terms of this whole men's mental health space is to be authentic and it's to ask questions that you genuinely will listen to the answers of. And if you can help, then you'll say, oh, well, how about we go off the floor into the AmCare room and have a bit of a chat. Just take your mind off putting thousands of books on a shelf and let's just chat. Let's just talk about stuff. Let's try and reframe the day and change what's happening. And then it gives you a chance to unpack things and offer a phone call if they need to check in. It's like, do you realise that GPs will do mental health checks and give you a referral to someone who you can talk to and go and have a counsellor conversation with? And do you need me to make the phone call for you, or would you like me to be here while you have the phone call? That sort of stuff, to actually offer a practical assistance. Or at lunchtime, do you want to go for a walk around the block? Let's change our location. Let's go out and listen to some birds and go for a wander around the block.
Do you see in their eyes sometimes, even just the fact that you, let's be honest, just give a
yeah,
just the fact that you go,
oh,
how are you travelling?
Yeah.
How are you doing? Are you okay? And when they go, whatever their story is, well, I'm doing okay, all right. And you go, well, all right doesn't sound great, because great's great, all right's not. What's going on here? After you, I imagine there's not resistance, but the wall's up. They don't know you're going to give a
no.
So does something change in them? Do you see something? Do you see the shoulders relax or
yes.
get tense at the start and then lower as you speak, or look in their eye like, oh my God, I think he actually cares?
Absolutely. I can't walk from the front of the building to the back of the building with 3 or 4 people acknowledging me because I've given a shit about them on day one. I walked into the building on day one. I had to train them to put a book on a shelf. And if I didn't give that's all I should have done. Train them to put a book on a shelf. But I think if I view a person as just somebody who's good at putting a book on a shelf for Amazon, well, that limits them. There's so much more to people. Some people have come here as doctors and surgeons, and yet we don't let them perform in their field of expertise, even though they've spent half a life studying it.
Yeah.
There's all these other barriers. So putting the book on the shelf is equalising, but spending 10 minutes or 5 minutes to get to know their story I found it amazing. Yeah. I love collecting people's stories. I warms my heart, makes me feel good. I think I've had a great day if I've had 25 conversations with people. My manager goes, oh, where is he now? Oh, he's out there talking to Joe Blow about Spain. What's he talking to them about Spain for? Oh, well, that's Francesco, the Spaniard.
See, the thing I love about what you do and the way you do it is, some boss will be, and I'm not suggesting that they're bad bosses. They will be going, is he out there having another chat again? And it's not about Spain. It's actually about having a chat about understanding who the person is. It's got nothing to do with Spain, does it?
No.
And, mate, if this was a cooking show, and I know nothing about cooking and I've been doing the show for a while, here's the thing I would come out. I'd go, if it was meat, cook it low, cook it slow, salt, plenty of salt and pepper and oil, right? That would be what I've learned. Do you know what the salt and pepper is I keep hearing about? In fact, the main thing that salt is connection.
Yes.
Well, there's all these things I keep hearing about, and there's lessons I've learned and bits I've been given that hopefully people have put in their toolkits. But it's just connection.
Yeah.
So everything that everyone keeps talking about is you go out and have a chat to them.
Yeah.
And you said they should be, they're not just someone that puts a book on a shelf.
No.
To you, that's Gary over there, father of 2.
Yes.
His son just did well at soccer. His daughter's struggling with a few things, and therefore him and his wife are worried.
Yeah.
And at the moment, that individual person who puts books on the shelf for us is a bit worried about his daughter, and that's where his mind is during the day, and we need to keep our eye on him a little bit.
Absolutely. And if part of what they're going through is something I've experienced, and there's anything that I can suggest that helped me, then I'll share that with them. And so when I was in the same situation, and my wife and I did the very Chris Martin, Gwyneth Paltrow conscious uncoupling. When they separated.
Oh, that's right. It was a conscious uncoupling.
Conscious uncoupling.
God, it's good branding. It's good rebranding.
Well,
do you mean you guys aren't going out together anymore? It's called a breakup.
So that's correct. And so it must have worked because it's stuck in my head as an expression. And it's pretty much how I describe it.
Yeah.
And my wife and I figured out pretty quickly, well, she did because it's how she was wired, because she gave birth to our children and is their mother. But I'd always had such a strong part of their lives that for me it became very clear in how I saw what I needed to do, and that was what's best for the kids. So in all of this, sure, there's $500,000 worth of debt and whatever it was we were carrying at the time, and we both needed to live a life as individuals to move on. What's best for the girls? What helps them finish school? What helps them become better humans? What helps them continue to be loving kids? And the moment I reframed all of the things, all of the decisions I had to make, and asked myself that first question, what's best for Paris and Lucia? What's best for Paris and Lucia? Then the answer became easier each time. And I would share that with people when they tell me that they're having issues.
Because there is anger, and look, again, I've been through it, you've been through it.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, my wife is a family lawyer.
Okay.
So when I say now wife, my forever wife, is a family lawyer, or some people say a divorce lawyer, because honestly, families aren't coming to her because they're having a ball.
No, and experiencing the tension and the
anger and everything else. It is. But I want to come back to it because I'm so thrilled that you're out there. My wife you would be her star. You'd be her star on the planet. You would be one of her favourite humans out there, just getting people, not necessarily just men, but just people to go.
People.
If you can, there is the financial side of it, but please just stare at the kids. Whatever you're doing, look at the kids and make sure, because there's mental health, the mental health problems in that, as you've said, it is so hard. And again, when I went through it, it was a lot. I consider myself to be a clear thinker. I think I compartmentalise well.
Yep.
I have different things that I know are a great way of structuring the way the mind can cope with circumstantial change, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
I found it incredibly hard.
You learn so much more about yourself in that situation, and how you thought you were going to respond sometimes is different to how you actually respond in the moment.
Yeah, it doesn't make you great at it.
No.
It's not until you get to the back end of it. It's funny, and not until you look in the rear vision mirror once you've gone all the way down that road do you go, how did I go there?
Yeah.
And you look at the potholes you hit, you look at the dust you've left behind, the skid marks, bits where you've hit the accelerator too hard, hit the brakes too hard, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And you look at all these marks on the road you've left, and you go, well, I didn't do that well.
And I'm not a perfect human. I responded with anger in moments in our separation, because that's where I went. But it's like, close your eyes, think of the girls, what's the best? And so it was like, okay, it's just money. It is just money. Now I've got a 26-year-old daughter who lives with me, brings a bulldog,
and she's come back to your house with a bulldog and calls you dad. There's the answer, isn't it?
Well, that's what I think. And I come back to that conversation when you lose the job and she says to you, did you tell the truth? Are you passionate about it? Is it right? Yes, it is. Then you'll be okay,
You'll
Dad.
be all right, Dad.
Nice. And that's from a...
So here's the thing I love about that is your daughter, here you are, a workplace trainer, and your daughter not taught you something, but training you, which speaks to the thing that I love hearing more and more is we don't have to be experts. I'm not a psychologist.
No.
As best as I know, you're not a psychologist.
No.
We're not trained.
No.
So listening, like if I had to say to you, because I know that that's your thing is just listen. And again, I keep hearing it. I'm going to go back to the cooking show analogy.
Yeah.
Connections is the salt and pepper is the listening, is that as soon as you think someone's got a problem, we all know how to ask, are you okay? How are you traveling? Yeah. And when they go, not so well, after that, what do you do? Because you're not a psychologist, but you're nailing it. So what are you doing?
All I'm doing is listening, letting them know that I'm listening, that I hear them. Oh yeah, okay. I hear what you're saying, but then you need to find time to get them away from the workplace situation they're in, to get them into a different setting, and then just allow them to speak freely and just be there, be present, be authentic, be the same person you were out on the floor who was making that initial connection with them while they were working. Be that person, but sitting beside them, sitting opposite them, wherever you need to be, in their presence while they're unloading the burden that they feel. And hopefully saying to them, just by sharing the load, you are lightening your own load.
Just by saying it out, them saying it out loud.
Yeah. Sometimes just hearing yourself say what is bothering you in your out loud voice to someone who you trust and feel comfortable with, who you know is open to listening to what you're saying and not putting their own experience in every sentence. Oh, yeah, I remember a time when I was in the same circumstances, Shane, and this is what I did. It's like, no. Just let the man tell his story.
Well, it doesn't really matter what I think. I think what does matter is what Arthur thinks, our expert. Listen to what he had to say about this.
Often what people who might be going through a bit of a tough time are seeking is just an acknowledgement. They're not actually looking for someone to fix it because they know it can often be something bigger than what they can do to help fix. And it's tough to do as humans because our instinctive response is to always try and fix.
Yeah.
To sit in that space and truly listen to what the person has to share. So if someone says, no, I'm not, I'm actually in a really bad place, being able to say, gee, that sounds tough
terrible. Or what's happened.
Yeah, help me understand what's happened.
Because I'm guilty of this, even with my own wife. So is it sometimes saying, tell us about what's worrying you, and let them say the things out loud. And then when they tell you whatever it is that's got on top of them, that you do go, well, that would worry me. If I had that happen to me, that would worry me too.
Yeah, and that's the empathy bit.
Yeah.
That's an acknowledgement, you're empathising. And what we don't want to do is judge in that moment.
So you don't have to fix their problem.
No, I think a lot of the times, sometimes innately inside us, we know the solution, but we're so clouded in the burden of the stress that we don't get to it. It's only when we lighten the burden and share our story that we allow ourselves to be open to what the solution is. And that was me with the conscious uncoupling and figure out that it's about the girls. And by making that simple decision gave us clarity.
So knowing you don't have to have the solution, there's something that my wife says to me sometimes when she tells me it's been a bad day at work, or we share everything. I'm blessed. We share everything.
Myself and my partner are the
good
same,
and the bad,
Shane.
the ugly, whatever it is. This happened, or I felt this about this, which annoys me or upsets me or frustrates me or whatever. And she does the same, And so there's a two-way street of communication there, which is great. But every now and then she tells me about a problem she might be having with a client or a friend or a circumstance or something didn't happen. We volunteer and do a lot of stuff. She's helping out with a lot of charities and stuff. And this person was going to do this, but they didn't do it, blah, blah, blah. And then when she gets to the end of it, I am so keen to jump in and go, wow, you know what I do, or you know what I should say. And every now and then she has to say to me, sweetheart, I don't need you to tell me how to fix this. I just want you to listen.
That's the bloke. Open the toolbox, grab the screwdriver, and I'll just tighten that screw. You'll be right now.
I've got a 10mm socket for that. And I do. I keep going in my toolbox. You're so right, mate.
Yeah.
And I'm reaching for a wrench, or mate, I've got a torque wrench and get this just to the right pressure. And she's like, I just want to complain. This one doesn't need fixing. I just want to go to someone.
Yeah.
How shit is this? How bad is this?
Yeah.
So sometimes is that the other thing, because it's a pressure release. And she's the one identified to me. I thought I was being great by wanting to fix it.
Yes.
She's like, if you really want to be great, shut up and stop trying to fix it. You just got to
listen. And as blokes, we're not trained to do that very well. We're trained to fix. So we're trained to paint. We're trained to change the spare tyre. We're not trained to teach the driver of the car with the spare tyre how to do it on the side of the road. You've stopped to help. It's a damsel in distress.
Yeah. Hold my beer, watch this.
Correct.
Out of the way, ma'am, I've got this.
And maybe had I shown her what to do when she was participating, she gets a flat tyre next time, fixes her own flat, and goes, oh, how good was that bloke back then 5 years ago when he showed me how to fix a spare tyre? But we run in and help.
Yeah.
It's that default. Be good at it, be helpful, be a good bloke. And sometimes being a good bloke is to not run in and help. It's just to listen.
Get out
and so we do that. There are moments at work where I will try to, we have a situation at work, Shane, every morning where we gather, and this was what makes Amazon quirky. Like, I describe us as a cult, and and I know they don't like it necessarily when I say this is my message on day one, but I say this is how I explain it to you. Welcome to Amazon, Shane. We're a little quirky. We're a bit like a cult. We're going to do some things that you may not have done before. But the greatest thing about our cult, Shane, is you get to wash us off and leave every night, and you can choose to come back.
Oh, that's well put.
So we're not going to lock you in the building. And what I mean by quirky is we'll stand together in a group. We call it a startup. It could be a toolbox on a work site. That sort of approach. We'll talk about yesterday. We talk about today. We talk about what our target is, because Amazon's open about the productivity. Don't hide it. Be open about it, but then also be open about your desire to be a good human, a good workplace, have good humans being good humans. So I can't help myself. That's my moment to shine. In another world, I would have been Shane Jacobson in front of people performing. So this is my little version of it. And I'll tell a dad joke because I love dad jokes. And I love laughing at my own dad joke.
Yeah.
In fact, the best reaction for me is the cringe.
Yeah. Oh, gold.
That's when I know.
That's a hole in one. In golf, that's a hole in one.
Correct. That's when I walk off. I'm so proud of myself.
A normal joke, you want to make people laugh. A dad joke.
No.
My mother-in-law can't stand dad jokes. She can't stand them. And she literally goes, oh, like she's literally been winded. And I must admit, I walk out and high-five my own hand.
Yes. And does that make you a little happier inside and strive to find the next one?
The next worst joke. Yeah, I go and find one worse than that.
Correct. Because you got that response. And I do that for them.
But it's a joyous experience. You know what the truth is? The intent is what works.
Yeah.
Is your intent of what you're trying to do there, which is lighten the room or lighten the mood.
Yes.
And she knows I'm trying to do it. And I think she knows that when she goes, I go, that's a good one. I got worse than that. Oh, you know what? We're having fun. The intent comes through.
Correct.
And I imagine when you're doing that, even if it is a bad dad joke, you're not in there going, the fact that you're even not saying, okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get out there and get boxes. Let's get boxes out to the planet.
No.
The fact that you're even telling a dad joke on the clock suggests it's not all about working.
Yeah. And so I'll say to people, I'll say to people in small teams that I've led, I don't need you to stop talking. I just need you not to stop working.
Oh, there you go.
So if you want to load boxes all day, chat, tell jokes, talk footy, I'm in. I'm there. Like, I'm Mr. Have a Chat. So that's gold for me. I've found my home. I'll go away at 5 o'clock and go, where did that day just go? All I did was talk footy and
to staff.
Yeah, but all day we put boxes on the line and we chatted, and there were no quiet moments. And I just think by being authentic, by allowing people to get to know you. So tell a bad dad joke, they get that, oh, yeah, he likes dad jokes. We play music as a bit of a mood setter. I'm not into that whole let's use pump-up music. So again, because it's my moment to shine, I'll take you through my diverse record.
Oh, have you got terrible songs that they go, what the hell are we listening to?
80s music. So I'll take you back to the 80s, to the to Joe Dolce. Shut up.
Oh my God, Joe Dolce. There's a lot of people.
And I'll play that.
There's a lot of people listening now going, "Oh my, I know what that song is." And believe it or not, for those that don't know listening, his song was "Shut Up Your Face."
And then I'll give them the trivia because I think they're fascinated by knowing. They're not fascinated at all, but I'll tell them it was number one for however many thousand weeks it was, and I think that they're superbly, I think they're extremely invested. I only found out they weren't when my daughter came to work for Amazon briefly. My youngest daughter, first job, she came to work for Amazon, and she's oh my God, Dad. Oh,
you can't be doing
Dad.
that.
Oh my God, Dad. Oh, you can't say that, Dad.
Right,
and
so
I go,
her cringing now.
And I go, no, but there's a reason, and the reason is for me to be able to go and have genuine conversations with these people while they're working, I want them to feel that I've been authentic with them when I've had to lead them, and I've had to tell them what today's target is and set them up for success in their day. I want them to learn a little bit about me so I can come up to you and go, Shane, how are you going today? And it's not a work question. So I'm not asking you, how many books have you got in that box and how well are you doing and have you had great success? It's a genuine question about how you are. Because as I get to know you, I'll say that to you. If I come up and ask you how you are, Shane, don't tell me about your work day. Tell me how
Tell me
you
about
Tell me how you are. Tell me how you are, because if you're struggling, can I help you? So if you've got a shit box of items and you're struggling to get them on the shelf and meet our productivity, can I go and find you a good box to break that cycle, to break that funk that you're in, and set you up for a better afternoon if you've had a crap morning? And then maybe you go home and you think, okay, my day wasn't so bad after all. And it's really simple. It's not complex scientific stuff. I think it's just
But just because it's simple, doesn't people know it or do it?
I think
it's like that thing, common sense.
It.
How rare is common sense now?
God,
as my dad always said, common sense is as rare as rocking horse shit. And I think he's right. But the thing that you playing songs in the workplace that other people might go, that's a crazy, quirky song, or what is this guy doing? What I love about that is it's a culture of you going, this is what I like, and it's only a 3-minute song. And what it does is it has, because camaraderie comes in such different forms. And what I mean by that is having people on the floor or co-workers go, Tiffo's a little bit nuts. Can you believe he likes that song? Why on earth does he make us do that? You know what? They're talking and they're having fun, and they won't hate you for it.
No.
But you know how mates rib each other. If someone's having a go at you, they're probably one of your good mates. Like, you know what I mean?
Correct.
Top Gear, I was a part of that. Those 3 guys have a go at each other all the time. Do you know why? Because they're the best of mates.
Yes.
And that's what we find amusing. We do. There's a difference between bullying and having a bit of fun, right? You got to be careful, right?
I think there is, and I think in a safe environment, when you have a level of trust and you've earned that trust with each other, I think that allows moments of levity and allows great humour. But I think it also says to you, without me actually verbalising the words, I could actually talk to that bloke. I feel like I could actually say something to that bloke if I needed to. I've been in his company enough. I get how his humour is. I think I know a little bit about him. Oh, maybe I could say something to him if my day's really...
And you playing a little bit of crazy music.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use the word vulnerable, but I'm going to crack at something similar.
Yeah.
It opens up to go, I'm going to show you a bit about myself, and I'm just being a bit silly. That's who I am. Now, can I describe you to our listeners? You look more like a lead singer of a rock band. If Dave Gleeson ever leaves the Screaming Jets, I'm going to go, mate, I've got a guy.
I've got
a great band. I know
Thanks,
you guys.
Mate. That'd be bloody hell.
You look more like a band member from Screaming Jets or AC/DC. You're covered in tats. You got jewelry all over you. You know what I mean? You got a hat. You got the beard. You got the.
I love the contradiction.
And I love the fact that you do that. And here's the thing that I love also that you do, apart from you playing, quirky music and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I know one thing in your workplace that you strongly promote.
Yes.
And that is the acceptance of different cultures.
Yes.
And also whatever that may come, e.g. Ramadan. Things that come with different cultures that you make sure the workplace has some respect and a little bit of flexibility around that.
That's very heavily driven by the organisation, and it's there's a lot of things you read about Amazon, and they're not always great, but I think that's any global company. But one of the things I've learnt that I love is we will celebrate Ramadan. We will acknowledge Ramadan whilst our colleagues celebrate it.
Yeah.
And we will ask them how they're travelling during Ramadan. We'll look out for them. We understand that we can't encourage them to drink if they're dehydrated, but what we can do is say, hey, mate, you look a bit down. Are you going all right? Do you want to spend a bit of time off the floor just having a bit of a quiet moment, sitting down and recovering? How you're travelling with it. Because one thing I was completely unaware of with Ramadan, and yet it makes so much sense, is I didn't realise you had to retrain your body each year to fast.
Yeah.
Because I saw them as celebrating Ramadan, so they would have this method. Well, no, Tiffo, you idiot, they eat breakfast, dinner, lunch, tea, susceptible to sweet foods, savoury foods, just like I am, and then yet for a month of their life, it's very important to them to follow Ramadan.
Yeah.
So they have to retrain their body. So that first week,
it's hard work.
Yeah.
I had an Uber driver the other day who said halfway through a trip home, I live a fair way out of Melbourne. So I was in Uber on a long trip, and halfway there he said, excuse me, sir, do you mind if I stop to get something to eat? And ordinarily you'd think, you should be doing that on your own shift, shouldn't you, mate? You know what I mean?
Strange.
Yeah, and he said, do you mind if I stop and eat? And when he first said that, my brain thought, well, it's a bit of a weird request. But then he said, it's just at the moment I'm practicing Ramadan or whatever his terminology was. But he said, I'm doing Ramadan at the moment and my fasting has ended. I said, please, by all means, pull over and get yourself something to eat.
Yeah.
And then he got out of the car, and I think he really respected the fact that I respected that of course he needs to eat. I mean, And then he said, can I get you something? And I said, honestly, I'm fine, mate. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden it became a two-way street.
It's that sharing.
But as soon as he said that, I went, oh, my goodness, this gentleman. And it was dark. It was dark. And by then, he'd probably gone the whole day. Well, he had gone the whole day without food, hasn't he? That's exactly how it works.
Yeah, that's right.
But understanding that, the other thing I'm learning more and more the more people I speak to about talking to people with mental health. Again, we've said connection.
Yep.
But trust keeps coming up.
Yes.
So there could be a language barrier. English is not their first language, and you're a workplace trainer, and you show them some respect for their culture, for their cultural sensitivities, needs, practices, faiths. Understand? As soon as you go, mate, we see what you're doing here. What can we do to make it work better for you? Safer in the workplace. We know what you're doing now. Wonderful, and let other people know Ramadan. At the moment, some of our staff are doing Ramadan. Surely what that does in a workplace is you get me, you see me.
Yes.
I trust you now.
Yes, absolutely. So I met a bloke called Frank. Now, he was an Indian man.
Called Frank. Frank's not an Indian name, is it?
And I said, Frank, I'm Robin. Nice to meet you, Frank. And as I got to know him in the first 2 days of his life at Amazon, on that second day I said, can I ask you a question? And he went, yeah, sure, of course you can. I said, that's not your cultural name or the name you were given at birth, is it? And he went, no. I said, do you mind if I ask you what that is? And he said, oh, Rajdeep. And I said, do you mind if I call you Rajdeep? And he went, no, not at all. Why would you do that? And I said, well, I was born with Robin, and you call me Robin because it's on my name badge and I was born with it, and you can't mispronounce it and you don't have to repeat it. I understand you chose Frank, and I love the fact that you chose Frank. But the more when you get to know me, you'll know that I love the contradiction of an Indian man
called Frank,
calling himself Frank.
Did he do
and
it?
Then he goes, that's fantastic.
So
and I
why
said,
did he do it
for acceptance?
He was sick? For acceptance?
No, acceptance. He said he said to me when he came here, he felt that he stood out. He hadn't found a large Indian following. He'd decided to come out by himself, not a great deal of friends, and was still making connections within his Indian Hindu community. Came to Amazon, didn't know other Indian people in Amazon, and just assumed that to fit in an Aussie situation that he should call himself Frank.
Well, when you see him on behalf of me, can you say, Tumhara nam kya hai? Which in Indian is, what is your name? Or your name, what is? And then he would have said Rajdeep. I learned that from an Indian teacher, because she was in Australia and doing an amazing job of teaching us English.
Yes.
And it really got me that an Indian teacher was teaching me English and knew it to the letter, to the law, right?
Probably knew it better than the likes of you and I through school, because our language is so hard to learn if you're not speaking it.
Correct. I mean, we're 26,000 words in the English language, and we have so many words that mean 10 different things depending on what comes before it and after it, and what the inflection is or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, gosh, even yeah and no in Australia, we have 20 versions of them, because when someone goes, there's yeah and nah, and as we know, that means absolutely no. And we've got yeah, and yeah means no. Yeah means rubbish. I jumped I caught a 20-foot fish. Yeah. Did you? That means no, you didn't. You know what I mean? It's so confusing. Like we've got so many years that mean no.
Yes.
So many no. And that means I don't believe you. Like, so there's so many variations. Yeah. So it's disappointing to me that he wanted to change his name to fit in.
Breaks my heart a little when I hear it, so I call him Raj.
But isn't that great that you were able to? Isn't that funny? That's here you are mental health. That's everything we're about on this podcast.
Yeah.
And even though we're not suggesting that Frank Rajid has mental health problems, what does make a connection that you've made is literally going,
that's right.
I've heard what you said.
Yes.
It doesn't match the situation. Something here's not right.
That's right.
So I'm going to ask another question to find out what actually is going on.
Yeah.
He unveils his full name. You go, mate, with your permission, can I actually call you by your name?
Yeah.
And then he goes, that was a connection. He feels like part of a workforce.
Yep.
Now he feels like he's on a team.
Correct.
And that would start a better mental health journey for him.
So for him now, fast forward 12 months, he's made Indian connections, cultural connections in the workplace. They share meals. They love to share meals. So his friendship group, they share their meals. He will now say hello to me every day. I know so much more about Frank, or Rajdeep as I now know him to be. I know so much more about him. I know where he came from in India. I know that he has family back in India. I know that COVID was hard for him in India, and he lost a lot of family in India.
Oh, really?
Through COVID. And I know he sends...
From actually contracting COVID and passing away.
And he sends a lot of money home. And he has moments where he feels this great pressure and this great responsibility. So I say, well, I guess my mission with you, Raj, is to make you laugh every day.
What a great tip.
And he says to me, why would you do that? And I go, because
you're going to need it.
It sounds to me like you live a really tough life, mate, which I have great respect for. So I think, as well as the dad joke at stand-up, I'm going to come find you and give you another little gem. And I don't know if he then turns to one of his mates and goes, oh, my God.
Here he comes again.
Every morning.
This guy comes in. Tiffo comes in. Robin comes in and tells me this pathetic joke.
How bad are his jokes?
And then guess what? As we said, but if he's complaining about you, he's talking to other workmates.
Yeah,
and
correct.
he knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
Has great intent. You mean no harm. You mean nothing but good by it. And he's chatting to another mate.
Spending time to
another
get to know somebody.
Made.
Ask them questions. Wait for answers. And you don't have to store every fact they tell you, but remember enough about them.
Get a sense
gives you a window into them in future.
Into their soul.
You deal with them. Yeah.
So you do it. It's a bit of a three-pronged thing you do, which I love, which is start of shift rituals, which you've touched on, mid-shift morale boost, and end-of-day gratitude. I love that little three. Yeah. Start of the day, middle of the day, end of the day.
It's how it was displayed to me when I first started, and I wasn't aware of it. And I think to myself, how nice is it when your manager says thanks? Well done today. Thanks. And so I'll stand there at the end of the shift because we all clock out. It's clock in, clock out with your badge. And I'll say, have a good night. See ya. Well done today, you. Good joke. You need to work on your material, but there's a line. There's like a little line for every one of them.
Do you flick it all on your way out?
And I sort of because it's how I like to be. And I assume selfishly that that's how the rest of the world is wired. I'm yet to find people honest enough, Shane, to go, listen, idiot.
Leave me out of it.
You're in the wrong warehouse. That's next door. Okay? I don't know why you come into this building every day. That's next door because we hear them laughing a lot.
I reckon keep having a crack. I'm a big supporter of the dad joke.
Yeah.
Or the mum joke.
Yeah.
It comes from a great place, which is, because it is, I have a talk that I do called It's Time to Start Laughing Again, because I think, the world has got serious and there's a lot to be serious about, but literally just, again, the dad joke thing and the idea of telling jokes.
Yes.
I've called it a Pfizer jab to a frown.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I call it.
Great expression.
It is just all it's trying to do is get a frown off her head. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is such a short, in our first aid kit, I've always said that people shouldn't, everyone says laughter is the best medicine, unless you're really sick. And then in that case, you probably should take the medicine.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Something you can do in a workplace that'll just, a little shift in the way people feel, just a little bit of a smile on a dial,
absolutely,
lighten a moment. It's just have a joke. Yeah. There's no room for racism. There's
no,
and everyone knows what the right joke is.
That's right.
And
humor can survive. Humor will continue to survive as a society as we become more accepting of things we used to do and say that we now realise are no longer acceptable. Humor has survived that and will continue to survive that. And I think self-deprecation is a great tool to use in humour as well. And I think what that does is self-deprecation can be like an equaliser. It's like I'm like you. I'm at your level. We're the one. And I think, again, it opens you up for people to approach you to have conversations, or allows you to go into their space and listen to their story.
Well, mate, I think it's fantastic that Amazon have you in there with all those workers. This whole podcast is about the mental health for truck drivers and warehouse workers. Yeah. And I've learnt so much through people like you and continue to learn from people like you about kind of the world inside a big warehouse. And we know that you work in a warehouse that is one in a 1.5 times the size of the MCG.
Yeah, noisy as all get out, busy as anything, and has a purpose. And the set purpose is to deliver Mrs. Smith's parcel inside 4 days.
But what I love about what you do and the job that you do and the way that you do it is what you care about is inside that massive space are humans with a mind, which we all have, and to take care of that mind with a few simple kind of verbal brain massages. Thank you for a great day. Yeah. Here's the day we're going to have. Here's a bit of a joke, bit of a connection, understand who they are.
Absolutely,
mate. You're an asset to Amazon. Any company would be very, very lucky to have you. And thanks a ton for coming on the show. And before we finish, I've got a couple of questions. They're literally the same questions we ask everyone.
Okay.
And they're just a bit of fun.
Sure.
What overloads your palate? What drives you mad? It can be in life or in practice or in business.
Me mad?
Yeah. What overloads? What tilts your forklift?
Gosh, it's people taking themselves too seriously.
Nice.
I can't abide someone. It just gets me going when somebody's got a very simple task to do and they just do it to the letter with no personality, with no humour. And I have to bite my tongue, and my daughters will be standing beside me, and they'll just both be looking at each other going, oh, no, he'll say something.
He's going to say something in a minute.
He can't help himself. And I'm never aggressive, but there'll be a line that I'll feed them. Well done, mate. Well played. That was awesome what you did there. And the girls will just go, oh, no. Yeah. So it's someone who takes themselves too seriously.
Would you? It's going to be different. One of the questions we ask is would you rather kind of load a truck without coffee or do a 3 a.m. shift in winter? But your warehouses are all enclosed, so it's
a 3 a.m. shift in winter inside the warehouse I work at is hot and sweaty.
Is it?
So many people like the heater on. And I just want to curl up and go to sleep because by 3 a.m. I've had my meal at midnight. Now I'm just looking for if it's the day, I'm just looking for a shady tree to fall asleep underneath.
Yeah.
So I can burn off ready for dinner.
I don't like a warm workplace.
And I don't.
Truck drivers right now are going, mate, I set the temp in my cab.
Yeah, see? They get to set their own temperature. Loading a forklift with coffee. So I said
without coffee? So
no, without coffee. I said to Annabelle on the way in, I have a rule. 3 p.m. is the last time period in which I drink coffee, because after that I think it's beer o'clock.
Nice.
So when my partner walks in with a coffee...
Are you suggesting there's a time of day that's not beer o'clock? That's news to me. I'm going to write that down.
No. When I went to night shift, I changed my life, right? So when I went home, I had dinner. So I was going home. I was ready. Going home, daylight, 6 a.m. I'd crack a beer, sit there and have a dinner meal and a beer.
Yeah, so film week's the same. We do night shoots, yeah.
What?
No, your breakfast shift's according to the work shift you've done. So so in film, if you turn up to shoot from 4 p.m, they serve breakfast.
There you go.
And then it gets to about 11 o'clock at night and they serve lunch. And then we have dinner at like 5 a.m.
Love that. I don't mind a beer first thing.
No, the whole day shifts, The sun's irrelevant to us, great. So last question is what thing, when you're talking to people about what you do or the factory you work in, what thing surprises people the most? What's the one thing that I don't know or people don't know and they go,
so I don't know if you can use this, but I'm happy to share it and you tell me. So I become the unofficial spokesperson for Amazon at barbecues. When it's Tiffo.
He works for Amazon.
And then the crowd comes around.
Can you send me into space? That would be my first question.
Can I send you into space?
Can your mate Jeff?
No, that's my fascination with my mate Jeff, and I'd have one conversation with that bloke. If I could have one conversation, it would be, Jeff, I suggest you open your eyes when you shave and look in the mirror every morning, because your fascination is Mars. And I'm pretty sure our generation is not getting to Mars and still being alive with the amount of time we got left.
Yes.
I'd be going for cryogenics.
Yes.
And then I'd be working on your son to get you to Mars and then unfreeze you.
He's got the wrong end of science.
But the question I get asked a lot, as I said, don't know if you can use it, is do they really make you pee in a bottle?
Do they really make it? Does someone think out there that you have to go to the toilet in a bottle because you can't stop
There
working?
are social media groups all over the world, and
that's what has to happen.
Someone in that group will raise that issue. My comeback is no.
Well, I was going to say that's I have to do my job.
Come and work for me. I insert the catheter, and there's no problems. No, but my actual answer is, have you seen how many cameras there are inside the building here? And have you seen how many people have disturbed us as we've been in this conversation, how many people have walked in and out of this aisle to grab a book? I'm not dropping my strides in front of this much vision. Sorry.
So I'm glad you've solved that.
Bathrooms are at the front of the building. Feel free.
So we can tell people out there reliably now, if you're concerned that the workers at an Amazon warehouse have to wee in a bottle.
They do not.
They do not.
No.
Myth blown. Well, it is. We've finished the episode on Mythbusters. Well, mate, it's time to do the outro. I've got to say that was Tiffo. Now, don't get upset when I say that was. You're still alive. You're still with us. I'm going to say, mate, it says it here on a bit of paper because we did research on you. But I can now confirm all this to be true. You are full of warmth, wit, and you are, without a doubt, a real person and with real life wisdom. I've got to tell our audience that I'm Shane Jacobson. That's who you've been listening to. I'm the one that's been driving you mad. And you've been listening to How You're Travelling. There's more where that came from. Check out the other episodes. And don't forget the Healthy Heads app, of course. It's like a mental tune-up right there in your pocket. It's your outro, but I'd rather you say goodbye to our audience because they've had the joy of hearing you. Tiffo, say goodbye to our audience.
Thanks, Shane. See you later, guys. I hope you're travelling well.
That's how it's done. If you're doing it tough, don't go it alone. TAX, aka This Is a Conversation Starter, offers 8 free counselling sessions for truckies, tradies and blue-collar workers. No cost, no GP referral, no fuss. Just call 0488 846 988. That number again, 0488 846 988. And if you're feeling overwhelmed and need support right away, call Lifeline on 13 11 14. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.